Hello friends, let us talk about how SDNs are implemented. We discussed about SDN and what's the need of SDN in the previous module, and now in this particular module we will be talking about SDN implementation. Some of the vendors also already have started providing some solutions, and they provide configuration solutions for their own device, and I have already told you that this is quite good a move. Unfortunately, it is not generic. Okay. So, there is specific to their own devices and the operating systems they run over. Okay. A better uniform control system for all heterogeneous devices is needed, and this has been discussed in the previous module. For example, this is an example. If I have two networks A and B, and it is under two different switches A and B. Okay. And both the switches are from different vendors, and if I want load to be balanced between A and B, is going to be a very hard job for me. Even if I can go and do it on the switch, I can't do it in an automatic manner. I can go to one switch and do something, go to the other switch and do something, but that cannot remain there forever. It's the load is going to change, the switch may not work exactly in the fashion that I want. Okay. I would prefer a programmable solution which continuously look at the load and balance that load. So, if vendor provides me a solution for that, and if both switches belong to the same vendor, I can handle it. Heterogeneous cases I cannot handle. That is the reason why I need an open solution to this problem, which can work with all such vendors. That is the point I continuously manage. Automatic load balancing demands that consistent and common interface. Okay. Not only the network elements, we concentrated more on switches, but then there are other devices which are also needed to be managed. For example, IDS sensors or load balancers or firewalls or proxy servers. Okay. So, those things, network and personal firewalls, IDS sensors, proxy servers, traffic shaper, these things demand again okay, to be controlled. And again this device is again coming from different vendors and face the same issue with switches are. So, SDN actually extends the generality from is not confined to switches now, is also extended to all such devices. Interestingly, all these devices are basically packet processing devices. They are not separate from each other from that angle. Every one picks up a packet, do something with that packet and then put it out. That is every forwarding device is basically doing that. SDN can actually extend this to a level that a device, the same device can act as a firewall, also can act as a load balancer, can act as an IDS sensor. Why? Because please understand, when we isolated the data plane from the control plane, we have differentiated between intelligent part of the system as well as the working part of the system. When I separated that intelligent part, the intelligence lies in the controller now. So, the controller will decide that this forwarding device should act as a firewall, and I am providing the logic for doing it, and that is it. That device will be able to do it. So, we can have a generic network device which can act as a firewall at one instant of time, at the other point it can start acting as IDS. Let the controller decide what to do, let the controller provide the rule for doing it, and the job is done. That is the power of adding middle boxes. These are all together called middle boxes to the SDN, which was not earlier possible. In fact, IDS, if you know a bit about IDS, you know that placing an IDS in a network is a very critical problem. If you do not place IDS right, you will not be able to capture right packets, and it is quite possible that an attack go without really being noticed. So, that is possible. If you want to handle such cases, you need to know exactly where you are going to place the IDSs. So, strategic placement is very critical. Now, with this case you do not actually need, okay. You know, you have a global view and you know everything, you do not have that local view. Okay. Remember, some of the problems that we encountered in link state and all that is because every router or every switch look at only at the surrounding, that is the problem. But if you can look from the top, every router, everything, that strategic placement problem just vanishes. That is the other critical point in favor of this division. Okay. Routers control plane is segregated into different controllers. I have all routers, they are all control planes are taken together and we have different controllers managing those control planes. Switch is now reduced to only forwarding devices. This the virtual integration that we are talking about is just broken once we do that. Okay. And it is possible that we have more than one controllers. Okay. So, controller 1 managing 5 switches, controller 2 managing 10 switches is just fine. I can do that. I have a 10 controller cluster which is managing 500 switches that I have in my organization is just fine. I do not need to have a single controller. Okay. Many a times it is misunderstood by people that when you separate this data and control plane, you have a single controller. Usually it is not. Usually you have multiple controllers, they load share. Not only they load share, they become more fault tolerant also, because if you have a single controller and if that fails, the network comes to a grinding halt. So, that something that we do not want. Okay. But the interesting part is that the controlling happens in a vendor neutral manner. Okay. So, the controller when instruct the switches about anything will not use the vendor specified method to manage that switch. So, the controller talks to that switch irrespective of the make in the same fashion, same language. That is the reason why that interface is known as open. One of that is OpenFlow, which we are going to see in the next module. Controller contains that logic, controller contains that intelligence about policy enforcement, network reconfiguration, changing a port to other or switching, move a switch from one place to the other, and even evolution logic. Okay. Evolution logic means that I would like to add a switch to it or add a switch to that network segment or remove a switch from the network segment, changing it. Okay. Reconfiguration and evolution. And then, okay, so far our router was integrated. I have a data plane and control plane both integrated together in my router. I do not have that problem. Now, I have that problem. I am separating both of them. I still want them to communicate. So, that the problem is that I will have to provide some mechanism of making sure that both of them communicate. Okay. They are part of open, and this thing actually, as I said, they will have to talk to each other in an open manner. So, I need an open interface between them. So, that is the issue. So, OpenFlow is one such API. Okay. OpenFlow switches contain something called flow tables instead of the routing tables. Now, we call it flow tables. The reason is that we are going to route based on flow, okay, and not route. That is the reason why we call them flow tables. Okay. So, flow based routing is something that we are going to do, okay, and that is the reason these are called flow tables, and we will see how they look like in the next module. Okay. Controller and the switch need to communicate. So, controller insert rules in all switches as per global policy. Okay. For example, VoIP routing should be done on a typical path. So, that is provided and that happens that way. Okay. So, that rule is inserted in all switches and all switches must follow that. Okay. So, once the rules are received, the devices, forwarding devices can start forwarding packets, and their job now is reduced to match incoming packets for set of rules and decide the outgoing path. And remember, this thing is done by packet classification using ternary CAM, and that is the reason why all rules are possible to be processed at the single CPU cycle pretty fast. Okay. Controller also insert rules for middle boxes to make them work as firewall or IDS or proxy server. Okay. So, this is something I already talked about. It is also possible to make sure that the device act as a load balancing device or traffic shaping device. Traffic shaping device is basically there to modulate the traffic, regulate the traffic. Okay. So, when you get traffics in burst, but it is kind of a traffic police. Okay. So, you accumulate some traffic and then let it go, then again accumulate some traffic and let it go. Okay. So, that kind of regulation is possible here, traffic shaping. Network address translation is a system where you do not use global IP addresses in your network, which is recognized outside. So, when any packet goes out, that needs to be converted into global IP addresses. Okay. So, I in this module, in this course, we are not going to discuss more about network address translation. You can refer to my second book on data communication and networking for learning more about NNT. So, basically is also a device which works on packets, that also can be configured, okay, using this. What is the advantage of separation? It adds a lot of flexibility. First thing, entire network management becomes centralized and programmable. I do not need to don't need to manage network from different places. I can sit at a single place, centralized place, and do my job. And it becomes also programmable. I do not need to do it every time physically sitting there. I can write an application and I can just schedule that application. When the application is scheduled, run, the job is done. I do not need to do it manually, okay, and that is programmability. Okay. And I can use that for programming. I do not need to use a vendor specific low level language or higher level language. I am stressing this point again and again. Easier network evolution, it can increase very easily. Adding a forwarding device, I just do it, or adding an additional controller, I can do it. If I want to reconfigure a switch, is only a one click solution, unlike the other case where reconfiguring a switch or moving a data coming to one port, data going out of one port to going out of second port, I need to actually sit on that switch and manually write that command to do it, okay, in normal conventional case. In case of SDN, I will have to just click and the job is done, sitting right here, I do not need to even go to that switch. Okay. So, idea is to program the network as per need in the fashion software driven. This is called, in fact, SDN is software defined networking, but I use this word software driven networking to describe this thing. Okay. How you deploy SDN? And there are two general methods of deploying SDN, and that is very common. One method is to use the existing network and deploy SDN on top of it. The other one is to start SDN from scratch. Okay. In the first case, in the second case, you will have to throw away the switches that you are using. Oh, that is not a very great thing to have, but then you just get new forwarding devices, have controllers, and implement SDN from scratch and start working. Now, that is the great solution, because you do not need any additional overhead and you start receiving all benefits of the SDN from the word go, but then it is pretty expensive. The other option is to use an existing network, run an additional layer that is known as orchestration layer, and provide the service using that. In fact, it is basically a software driven approach. Switches are not disintegrated into two different that thing, but you get a feel of that. It is kind of a virtual interface that you get, is comparatively pretty slow. The advantage is that it is comparatively very cheap. You do not need to change your existing infrastructure. You may be surprised, but many companies are going for that first approach, where everything is now into SDN. So, Google recently did that and said that this saved them lot of money, and that is very interesting for us to understand why it saves money, because there is a centralized, why companies are very interested in SDN, why ISPs are very interested, why people like Google, the huge company like Google is interested. They like to invest into new technology and pay money. Why? Because they are going to get a lot of advantages of that and a lot of money saving in later phases, because you have that centralized automated control, something that you could do with 100 people in past, you could do with 5 people today. So, that is the power of SDN. Okay. The control plane, let us brief about control plane for a while. Okay. Control plane, what is the job of a control plane? It accepts command from people like us who manage networks or programs. Now, that is again I am continuously insisting that this is one of the best advantage of SDN, program. I do not need to sit on that interface and do that. I can schedule an application which does that for me, and I in fact, when I should write an application, I can do repetitive jobs in a single shot that may happen 100 times. I do not need to do that again and again. So, that's great thing about programmability, software driven approaches to solving problems, and this is actually happening at many other cases in the world. Okay. I am not going to discuss that right now. Okay. What this control plane does is set routing algorithms to use, whatever algorithm, whatever rules, okay, and set specific routes, whatever admin wants, adding, removing, changing rules for incoming and outgoing packets by firewall, for example. Okay, which packet firewall basically is like a security guard sitting outside the apartment. According to the instruction given by the building owners, will decide whether to allow somebody inside or not, or let somebody go out of the apartment or not. The same thing is done by firewall. So, whom to allow, whom to not allow is decided by the controller or the control plane, and that job is done by the forwarding layer. Okay. So, here you can see that the building owners are controllers and the security guard is basically a forwarding device. So, that's C. But it allows troubleshooting, specific filtering, etc. When you say, for example, intrusion detection system like virus scanners have the specific signatures built in, and what they do is that every packet they match with the signature, and the signature matches, they allow that packet or disallow that packet based on that match. Okay. So, those signature matching, mismatching logic is decided by the controller, and the forwarding device, the intrusion detection sensor now only matches job, okay, does that matching job. Okay. Once in a while job of setting organization policy is done by the control plane. Okay. The job of a data plane is to process. I have already talked about forwarding packets by the forwarding device, blocking packets by the firewall, inspecting packets by IDS. All this is done by the data plane. It has to work in real time. Now, that is, and this is something I have already talked about earlier, that forwarding seemingly simple, but is a comparatively harder job to do, because it has to be done in real time for the influx of packets, which is huge, humongous. Okay. So, even in that case, you are supposed to continue working. 2 GB of data coming every minute, you will have to process them at 2 GB per second or 100 GB per second, whatever, you will have to do it. You have to process packets in real time, that is the biggest challenge. Okay. So, that is why even data plane usually have a much higher, much bigger bandwidth compared to the control plane. Okay. So, controllers may be connected to each other by maybe a 10 MB line, but the forwarding devices may be connected to each other by 10 GB line. So, that is needed here. Okay. Working of these 3 planes again is shown using 2 examples on the slide. For example, I want my network to work on few virtual LANs. So, that few virtual LAN, which are those virtual LANs, who are those members, are provided through management plane. Okay. The controller will learn, once that is done, controller will learn about that. Okay. And control plane will associate VLANs with specific ports and instruct forwarding devices, that here are the VLANs attached with these ports, and forwarding devices only route those packets for those virtual LANs. Okay. So, this is an example where the working of these 3 layers is discussed. The other example about backbone routing process. So, if there is a backbone and you want backbone is something which connect multiple networks. So, for example, I have 3 networks, network 1, network 2 and network 3, and I have a backbone connecting them, and the backbone also has some priorities. For example, I say that network 1 traffic should be given highest priority, network 2 is second priority, and so on and so forth. So, you need to provide that kind of solution. So, that information is provided at the management plane. Management plane is used to provide that information to the controller. Once the controller has that thing, it decides how to process each packet from network 1, how to process each packet from network 2, how to process each packet from network 2 network 3, and also some policies whatever provided. And forwarding devices, backbone network forwarding devices will follow that exactly in the very fashion they are told. Many a times people misunderstand the management plane as a control plane, vice versa. In fact, some of the books, one of the book which I have written as a reference, Douglas Comer's book on TCP/IP protocols, has a chapter on this thing, but he has not mentioned the management plane at all. He talked about interface, but did not mention that word management plane. So, you will come across cases where the word management plane is not directly written, but it is there. So, many a times you have a query, what is the difference between management plane and a control plane? Here is the answer. The admin interacts with controller using the management plane. Okay. So, controller to admin, and remember it might interact using a network application, again and again I am reminding you. Admin configures controller using this management plane, controller controls forwarding device in an automated fashion. Okay. Admin use management plane for filing, for example, table containing malicious program signatures. Instruct control plane to look at the table for intrusion detection. Okay. So, control plane generate logic for testing intrusion, and forwarding device does exactly that. And here are some examples of policies. Admin decides that after 1 GB of data consumed, degrade the traffic to 2G. So far it is 4G. Okay. Okay. So, instruct control plane using management plane, this thing. Okay. This rule, this is an example of a rule. Now, that rule is to be inserted in the controller, that is done by management plane. So, you have a management plane, an application where you just type this information, and that information is given to the controller. So, the controller does what? Will insert that rule there in controller itself. Will, when forwarding device forward the traffic, will administrator monitors the traffic. When it crosses that, will provide an additional rule to that switch, that this particular user now should be routed as if it is 2G. Okay. So, this is an example how this thing is done, and all forwarding devices in the network obeys the rule unequivocally. Now, that is no switch is different here, every forwarding device is the same. So, once the controller decides that this is the rule, once the admin decided and inserted that thing as a command, all controllers will follow that, and all controllers make sure that every switch under them follows this. Okay. So, that is quite universal way of management plane in a conventional switch. Okay, is basically a plane vendors have already decided and given to us, and we have already discussed that, is again repeat of that thing, but there is a reason for doing it. Okay. Vendors have no idea of admin policies, additional interface, anyway we need that. Okay. So, vendor may provide an open interface for modification, but still you will have to do it. So, node device and SDN based solutions are emerging. Okay. Any vendor's controller is to be controlled by an open management interface, any vendor's controller can control any forwarding device. Okay. And admin participate using API, okay, and use his own applications to manage controllers. Now, this is something we already know. Okay. A typical solution with a switch which is a little more flexible is, I have a switch which has control and both planes. What I want to segregate this control plane out, but I can't physically take it out. So, what is the solution? A solution, okay, every switch has all three planes, management, control and data. So, the control plane is managed by the vendor specific interface, which we call management plane. So, that plane is removed, that is there, and we will cut that thing from the control plane. What we do is we add an additional stub that can control that plane, the control plane. Now, that is basically a stub. So, from my device I am connecting to that, and when I am connecting to that I can manage that directly. Okay. Look at this example. I am a network admin, here is a control and a data plane. Now, this is the management plane which my vendor has provided, and normally I am using this. In case of this thing, this is now no longer in use. I add a server stub here, and network admin sitting at the remote place communicating with this, okay, using that stub. What is the advantage? The same control plane the switch has provided is being monitored, managed by the remote this thing, that is one advantage. The other thing, I can add a few things here, vendor might not have provided, I have already given you an example. So, vendor might not have provided, but here I can provide additionally. So, this is the other advantage that I have. Okay. So, what is the advantage of this external controller? I have already talked about network wide policies. I can design and employ misconfigured devices can be easily found out, because external controller can easily see if there is a loop. Okay. Admin can use generic commands instead of a device specific commands. Forwarding devices become lightweight. Now, I do not need to have switches with both things built in. I have a very lightweight switch which only can have forwarding logic, nothing else. Okay, I can have finer control over routing and forwarding. I can use packet classification hardware in the forwarding device. Okay. Admins are freed from proprietary management planes. Okay. I do not need to manage switches differently. There are some additional issues. For one is synchronizing multiple, now additional issues arise from this SDN management. Here is, okay, let me, so here are two, for example, two controllers managing two different parts of the network. I need to load balance, okay, three different virtual, and I have talked about this case. Okay, here is an example. For example, this is a controller C here, and there is a switch O here. This controller C has to manage the switch O. The first thing is that switch must understand that on this port this is a controller and not a normal node, because controller can give commands and other nodes cannot give commands to control this switch. Okay. So, that is very critical for the switch to understand that this is not a normal node, but a controller. Okay. So, that is the first critical requirement. Okay. And second thing, it is quite possible that is control a few switches, and one thing that switch can do or the network administrator can do is to place all controller and all the switches into a single group, IP based IP level grouping or MAC level group. So, this command can reach to all of them. Okay, so, that is something which we need. SDN evolution is something that is a history. So, it was coined at Stanford and continued that thing afterwards, and these are all things that we have already talked about. So, I skip them. One of the great things about SDN that it provided three different types of abstractions. Once SDN is there in the place, first thing you can view the network as a single unit, that is called abstraction as a single unit. The other thing is that forwarding devices, again you can forward without looking at the make and the type of switches, so the forwarding abstraction. The third abstraction is from the administrator's point of view. When I say that I would like to design a rule which should route 2G and 3G traffic separately, I do not need to consider what kind of controllers that I am using, what kind of switches that I am using. I just look at network as a whole and I provide this thing. Okay. So, these three abstractions or three different services that SDN provides is considered to be the most critical part of this thing, okay, because it enhances our vision to the network itself. With that note, we conclude what we looked at in this particular module. We looked at how SDN can be implemented, how this control and data planes can be separated, and what their jobs are, and what is the advantage of it, and what are the issues involved in it. And basically we looked at, finally we looked at this three, how these three abstractions are provided, how can you visualize network as a single unit, how this forwarding devices can forward packets without really knowing the type. So, what we would like to do is to be independent of the make and types of devices, kind to have an open interface to network. Okay, that is the version, that is the vision of SDN designers. In the next module, we will look at how actually this open version is implemented in form of an open flow solution. With that note, we will conclude, friends. Thank you all.